folks. Let us know if you can hear us.
More importantly, can you hear me? Okay.
All right, they can hear.
Okay, so this is something that's a little different from our normal, just, you just saw here's a report on what we've successfully implemented. This is planning for what we are going to be implementing fairly soon. So, in contrast to the confidence and happiness and enthusiasm, you will probably now see some, what should we do about that? I haven't figured that out. Let's figure that out. And I've got, I've got George over there. He's my man. I've got Dave over here. Dave and Crossfire, who's not appearing in this film. Not appearing in this film.
He's probably in the shot because it's the back camera.
Yeah. Okay.
He's on the Twitch camera, but not the
Okay.
the Hangout one.
I can't see the Twitch camera. I only have eyes for George. Not appearing in this film.
He's probably in the shot because it's the back camera.
Yeah. Okay.
He's on the Twitch camera, but not the
Okay.
the Hangout one.
I can't see the Twitch camera. I only have eyes for George.
Oh, I think it's because Hangout's getting back in.
There he is.
Yeah.
A little bit of really delayed feedback.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely coming from Max. I like Max.
A little bit of really delayed feedback.
All right, so anyway, let's talk about abilities and what we want to do. So, Ross, I know you have a list of notes. You want to let's start it off, or do you want to? You want me to? This? Anyway, let's talk about abilities and what we want to do. So, Ross, I know you have a list of notes. Okay. Let's start it off, or do you want to? You want me to? This? Okay, so yes.
That's what I just said.
Yeah, Cross
Yes,
has a list of demands. Support for multiple sprite textures of arbitrary size instead of one fixed sheet. I would give that a solid thumbs up. Yes, we can do that. Let's since I'm guessing Dave is going to be the person responsible for implementing this. So let's talk about the best way to do some of that action.
All right. I can also mention George and I talked about it a little bit briefly. We're talking about are using texture arrays with that, like a fixed size, and then actually atlasing smaller textures into that, and using
Exactly.
that guy. So
Yeah.
That's all I care about. That somehow behind the scenes I put in textures.
Yeah. So there'll still be a maximum size, but then we will.
atlas smaller ones into the maximum size.
So
Are we doing the atlasing by hand right now, or is there an application?
Cross is doing it very, very by hand.
Yeah, that would be a good point to iterate on too.
And it's all just, what he has right now is, I think was it like 64 slots or
4K by 4K.
Yeah, we increase the size.
it's got one giant texture and it's just divided up into,
And it's 32 by 32.
so he has 1024 possible, he's got 32 by 32 sprites in here, and they all have to be the same size. And here's stars like that, and they're just manually, sequentially numbered. Manually, sequentially numbered. Just emit a particle that is using sprite 38. It would come down here and use the one in this cell in this custom created texture. Again, the VFX system was constructed by me in approximately a day and a half in the middle of the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
So it's gone on way too long.
Yeah, I've mentioned that back many times.
So I'd say what we want to do is, pick some sort of maximum sprite size. We didn't need that.
256.
Yeah, 256 is probably like, if you want something bigger than that, I would say you probably just want
Not a sprite.
Yeah, and say, you know, okay, so here's this, and we texture array them on down like that. And when there's a sprite that's smaller than that, we, you know, we just pick a cell and subdivide it. And can you live with all sprites being squares?
Not really.
Okay. Can you live
We
with all
probably
sprites
want
being-
something different for Trails, but Trails should be its own system.
Yeah.
Generally, they're going to be even multiple. You know, they're going to be.
Can you live with
some number
all
ratio.
power? Can you live with powers of 2 for the dimensions?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
We could actually do rectangular textures as long as they fit, as long as they're not 256 by 256.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we can pack them, but mipping and filtering can get interesting when they don't align to powers of 2.
Yeah.
And you can pack. We can arbitrarily pack them, but
Basically, my idea was that I'd be able to upload a texture that was a sheet of things. And that thing didn't necessarily have to be square. And then I could subdivide it. I could just say how many U divisions, how many V divisions, and then that would define how many cells there were for that effect, which would then be sequentially numbered.
so you're looking, yeah. So got to keep the flipbook aspect of it.
Well, just so that each individual subsheet is organized in a way. They may or may not be used as flipbooks, but say, for instance, I wanted to have like a whole sheet of streaks that I knew were all going to be like, these are all going to be energy streaks. I just wanted to randomly pick between one or the other of them to mix up.
Okay, so yeah, random selection should also be in there for sure.
Yeah, well, I can do that now, but I'm just saying that if I have a smaller sheet to deal with, which is say, it's a rectangular area, and then I've divided it into say 8 sprites across, then I just go from 0 to 7 when I pick it. It's much easier for me to deal with a subset of numbers rather than I'm wanting to pick number 600 to 607
Right.
out of a giant sheet.
Yeah, because that's what.
Well, this is a different thing. We probably shouldn't keep the interface where you're manually creating the sheets yourself. Maybe you could upload sheets into the editor, but it would be nice if we restructured them and could tag them with a name and use that tag in the game.
Yeah, behind the scenes, you can give them whatever index you want. I'm
Yeah.
just saying, within that effect, I would like to say 0 to 7. And then on the larger, big atlas thing in the background, then you recalculate the UVs for where that is in the bigger sheet
Now,
and all that.
could you live with like defining these in a way other than you pre-atlasing them into a sheet yourself? Because what you're talking about is kind of the engine making an atlas of atlases,
Sort of.
and that could get a little bit icky. Like, would you be okay, you know, if instead like we added like a flipbook resource type?
That would be useful elsewhere too.
Yeah.
Because we could use it to load texture arrays in explicitly to our current texture compressing system.
Well, I guess you'd have to explain what you mean by a flipbook resource type.
So we have textures now that are like, you'd be creating some kind of just like, this is a flipbook.
Instead of image, it's image stack.
Yeah,
And
image stack.
would refer to a directory full of sequentially numbered images.
You know, here's image 0, here's image 1, and those would all point out to images that you loaded, just like you set up, you know, diffuse and normal maps. It could look a lot like a material, except, you know, it would just be, all right, and this is 0, and this is 1, and this is 2, on down the list.
I guess so. It depends on how I would have to deal with that kind of, as far as the editor and all that. But I was just trying to keep it simple by saying that I would put in smaller sheets that I UV on something.
Yeah.
I thought that was simpler, but
But on the engine side, an atlas of atlases is
Yeah, that actually complicates things on our side. We just want to get them in individual images and put them how we want them.
Okay,
yeah,
well, that's fine.
it'll work better. Okay, so we definitely want to make it so main things coming out of this. Okay.
Some kind of flipbook or texture image stack. Source,
Image stack resource. We need client-side atlasing. Of the image stack resource. Let's see.
We need the VFX to be able to reference
yeah,
the image stack resource
refs
directly.
or image. Because we don't want you to have to go build an image stack just to point at a texture.
Yeah.
Like, is an image stack real? Can we do image stacks just as a subtype of materials?
We could, but it wouldn't reuse a lot of material. It's probably better as its own thing. I don't think, does the VFX point to a material right now as it is, or does it point to an image?
It points to, it says number 7, and there's a certain blessed resource that is the image that is the one master image that is loaded. It's like 101.
So I don't think VFXs are ever going to be real materials in our system. VFX images are ever going to be real materials because we need to render them differently. I think it's probably better if it points to an image stack for animations and a plain image for things, and then we handle the compression of that in the same way material does, but to this texture array rather than atlas array rather than to a material.
We might be able to actually pull some engineers, like the parts where we actually compress the things.
I assume VFX are eventually going to get a fancier material that is the VFX material.
I can't hear this.
Some VFX are going to eventually get a fancier material that is the VFX material.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, image stacks may be the VFX material. If we want to put fancy settings in, then it would go in the image stack, or
Right.
VFX image stack, or VFX image maybe, rather than material.
So image stack is really gonna look something like, it's gonna look something like glow, normal, light, mask, conceivably like several types like that, and then it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, on down, just this entire list where you can put together whatever combination of stuff.
Or an import button that just brings in a whole directory at once.
Yeah, got to have a
I was just
directory
gonna
import.
say that. Uh-oh.
Got to have the directory import.
Well, not in my top 5, but something that I really want to have eventually is a capability in the material to do other things like UV panning and all that, because personally speaking, I don't really like flipbooks that much. They're useful for certain things, but in other ways, they're not really that great. So
Okay.
the flipbooks have a place for certain effects that you just can't do any other way, but most effects actually do not need flipbooks. They're better than UV panning and other effects.
I think we can get, there's also value of just being able to